Right. Good evening. My name is Tony Hunt. I am Vice Chairperson of the Webster Groves Plan Commission. We are a 9-member Board of Citizens appointed by the City Council to review development proposals and make recommendations to the City Council regarding future development of the city. In addition to the members of the Plan Commission participating in person and via teleconference, we have a few other representatives of the city I would like to introduce. City Council Member Emily. Emily Hickson Shepherd, City Attorney Peter Buntrager, Director of Planning and Development Elliot Leibson, and Planner Joel Pugh. I would like to welcome you all to tonight's monthly meeting of the Commission and take this opportunity to explain how we operate. As indicated in our agenda, we will begin with the regular session of the meeting when we will hear new applications for rezoning or subdivisions. We will hear a staff report and the applicant will explain the proposal. We will then ask for comments from the public. At that time, anyone with an interest in the proposal may indicate to city staff they have a question or would like to express their opinion. To make sure that we accurately record your name, we ask that you fill out a speaker card if you are in person and turn it in to Mr. Pugh. For those on Zoom, please click on the raise hand feature on the Zoom. To make sure that we accurately record your name, we ask that you identify your full name and address at the beginning of your comment, either in person or on Zoom. When you make your comments, we ask that you be as concise as possible and not repeat a point made by a previous speaker. We also ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. One person who is a spokesperson for our organization may have 6 minutes to comment. After all citizens have spoken, the applicant will be asked to respond to any questions that have been raised during the hearing. When we have finished reviewing one proposal, we will move on to the next application. Comments concerning items not on the agenda should be made during the public comment section of the agenda near the beginning of the meeting. When we have completed the regular portion of the agenda, we will go into executive session. At that time, the commission will discuss proposals and may decide to vote on the application or to postpone the decision. You are welcome to remain and listen to the discussion, but there will be no additional opportunity for public comment at that time. Our recommendations are sent to the City Council. In most cases, the City Council will conduct a similar hearing and must enact an ordinance before the proposal is finally approved. If the Plan Commission takes a vote tonight, the City Council will likely take this issue up at its next meeting. If you want information regarding our vote or the progress of the application, you may contact staff at City Hall. I would like to ask that the Secretary read the first item for tonight's regular meeting agenda.
Approval of minutes, March 3rd, 2025.
Are there any questions or changes?
Just really small. My name is spelled wrong, but other than that, looks good.
Okay. Okay, so noted. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes with the change?
Motion to approve with change. It's just MADDY. Not a big deal.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public comment? I don't see anybody. Is there anyone online that wants to say? It doesn't look like it.
Is there no one online?
It doesn't.
But no one commenting? Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, public hearing.
we have no public hearing tonight.
So plats and site plans.
We have no plats or site plans. Do I have a motion to adjourn the regular session?
So move.
Second.
Second, all in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
No opposed? Okay. Opposed, all in favor?
Okay, executive session votes, other business. We're gonna talk about the draft comprehensive plan review.
Okay,
And we have a new member, I think.
we're just gonna introduce her.
Okay, perfect.
Well,
All right,
staff
so-
will go over from there.
Okay, so, wow, that's loud. So tonight, first of all, this is just, as it noted, a review. This is not a formal presentation. The consultant, we invited them, they had a prior obligation. There will be a formal presentation at the next meeting of the Plan Commission. And you will get a chance to vote at that meeting. What we wanted to do was give you plenty of time to look at it, get comfortable with it. They are taking comments for revisions. We'd like to get them to them by the 9th, by this Friday, so that they can come back with this quote final draft, hopefully a final draft, by the 22nd of this month, so that we can get that back to you in time, plenty of time for you to review it again, so that, you know, when it gets to the presentation and on the 3rd of, is it the June meeting, I forget the date, 2nd. It won't be on the 3rd. You've had plenty of time to digest it, go through it, come up with comments. I've looked through it, and Joel's looked through it. We've the ambassadors group that was formed when this process got started is meeting tomorrow with myself and Joel and the consultant. So there is plenty of opportunity for input even now. What we wanted to do tonight was just really informal. All of you had a chance to look at it? So, and I did print off a copy, or I sent a copy to the printer. It's still, no, even worse than that. You see I'm not wearing my badge. I ran out the door and left the badge at home, and our printers are tied to our badges. So he can't print my files. So he couldn't print it. I couldn't ask him to print it. So I don't have a hard copy. We have it on the computer. So if we want to pull it up, in fact, why don't we do that? And I'll just open the floor. Let me actually do this. Let me start by telling you a couple of technical things that we've proposed, not concept issues, not substance, but for example, I recommended that adjusting the spacing of the body text of all the text paragraphs, because it's really tight. Increasing the size of the map legends. I know this is real nitpicky, but just things that are not related to the content, but are things that I noticed that are going to make it easier to relate to. Adjusting some of the colors of the text. They have, you go to the section.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's going to be changed. What else did we change? Well, those are the really grammatical things, and I made a couple comments about clarity on form-based code, because when I was working with Ferguson, we had a form-based code for downtown, and it was not at all comprehensible. Yeah. And I'm not opposed to form-based code, and even if I were, that's not my decision, that's the community's. But what I did say and do say is that if you're going to use it, then it needs to be something that people can wrap their brains around it, because I've been doing this for many years, and if I can't understand it, that's not good for the community. Added some things made some comments about parking reduction for bike racks. Adding a sidebar in Pillar 7 goal. I won't even go into and I'll send you a copy of this, rather than go through all the nitpicky sections so that we can save time. Add a sidebar about the FEMA community rating system as a possible suggestion for the community. Is everyone familiar with that, by the way? Okay, if you get floodplain insurance, there is something called the community rating system that you can apply for. It is not easy, and you have to maintain it. There's a whole list of activities, much of which is staff level, and there's policies that you have to input, and there's community actions that have to be done. The upshot is you get a rating from 1 to 10. 1 is the best. I think there's one community in the United States that has a 1, and 10 is the lowest score that you can get. And that score gives you a percentage discount on floodplain insurance. So a 1 gets you 45% discount on floodplain insurance. So there's a reason to do it. And I just wanted that to be in there as a suggestion. Again, not as a directive. It's not my place to say should do, but it's worth the work on our end, I think, to get the discount on flood insurance, especially after what happened in 2022. And just again, to bring Ferguson back up, 300 or 400 properties in Ferguson flooded. So it's worth, I think it's worth it. And yes,
So if you get a lower number,
right.
does it hurt the community then?
No, the score is the discount you get. So 10 is like 5%, and it goes up from there. Yeah, there's no negative. No, the only thing is if you don't get a score, if you don't earn the number of points to get a score, or you lose it, you lose the discount.
So it's my understanding, this is a comprehensive plan. This is a guide, right?
Yes.
So our zoning ordinance, our zoning code is going to have to be retrofit and take into account some of these recommendations.
Yes.
So something like that, or some of the other, recommendations or strategies that they have, those can stay in the guide, but unless we write those as requirements or into the code, they're still just strategies.
Yes, but I would also point out, well, first of all, over 35,000 foot view, yes, that is correct. But there's more than just zoning. And those other things the same thing applies unless and until it becomes policy or an ordinance, it's just a guide. But it's going to be front and center on my desk, that I'm going to see it and be working with it every day.
So like I said, you're not right. It's a policy, so it can be as part of the plan, but it's always something that we could go back to. It doesn't have to become policy. Once we approve this comprehensive plan, it's not written in stone that is what
That is correct.
Okay.
Now, what I would also add, that is one possibility that the city might consider. Again, this is just an idea. In Muscuda, Illinois, they wrote into ordinance that any project that comes before the Plan Commission, big or small, has to be in conformance with the comprehensive plan. That is merely a possibility. I mean, I love it. And speaking as a planner, it makes my life more challenging on one level, because we got to bring the plan out and make sure every applicant, number one, knows that the plan exists. Number two, knows what it says. And number three, actually reads it. And then I've got to defend the application, not just in terms of the code, but in terms of the plan. So that's an extra level. I don't mind, because it makes for better projects.
Only if the citizens can decipher 214 pages in addition to all the ordinance in the code. We have a lot of ambiguity in our existing ordinances, and the public often complains about that. And so adding additional scrutiny and ambiguity into the process to me is a little bit concerning if it's not written in black and white in an ordinance. That is just something that we need to assess risk on, I think.
That's a good point.
And that's kind of a Peter question. So currently, Peter, do we, it's standard practice when staff makes a recommendation on a zoning or anything, they'll say, is it in accordance with the comprehensive plan? Does this apply to that, Peter, if we had something in there that wasn't either a policy or an ordinance written?
Yeah, so the comp plan, generally speaking, is or it is generally the policy of the city. So anything that's going to go through plan commission, the question of does it comply with the comp plan is going to come up. And so yeah, and the answer is while you're considering what this looks like. Not that you could think of every eventuality, but consider that these are the things that you'll take into account voting on everything that comes in front of this commission. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yes.
What I might also add, to speak directly to Commissioner Clapper's point, and going back to a comment you made just a few minutes ago, the follow-on typically to the comp plan is to update the zoning code. I won't say rewrite, because per state statute, the zoning code has to be based in a comprehensive plan of the city. So a typical next step is to go then look at the code and literally go line by line and say, does this make sense? Or is it work according to the plan? Does it work according to common sense? Is it meet the community's goals, and does it meet legal challenge and all those things? But you do it after the comp plan. So a comp plan is like the map to get from where we are to wherever the city wants to go. The zoning code is the tools to get there. So, what kind of tools do we want to have to get to where we want to go?
That's another good question. So the map, is the map approved with this, there's the map that goes with the comprehensive plan?
You mean like a zoning map?
Yeah,
No,
like
no.
the map that's in this comp plan that they're suggested,
That,
the land use map that they have on here.
yeah, it's approved as part of the plan. It's not approved as the zoning map, official zoning map. Like Peter just said, it's a guide. So this is the guide of the city. It's not, this is the actual written in stone zoning map. If we went through and did a comprehensive zoning code revision, and one thing that can be done and is often done is put a zoning map based on the zoning code changes with the zoning code update.
So if we have comments based on some of these recommendations, now is the time to make those?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
because I have a couple.
Just to clarify for my sake real quick, my understanding is that we would adopt a comprehensive plan. It is not a written in stone ordinance. Our goal as the plan commission would then be to review the zoning ordinance and bring that into compliance with the plan. And then if someone is submitting a project and it's in compliance with ordinance, it would by default be in compliance with the plan, correct?
Mostly, the zoning update, it doesn't have to be the strict purview of the plan commission, by which I mean, that's a lot of code. So what can be done is, and what is often done is a consultant is hired, and we haven't budgeted for that in the coming year. So it wouldn't be this year, but Typically, a consultant's hired, they work with the plan commission and a steering committee, just like they did with the comprehensive plan. Only this would be more closely aligned to the plan commission because that is your purview. And they would do a lot of the hard work of actually finding the errors and finding confusion. And I mean, they would obviously take your suggestions, but you wouldn't be going line by line through 214 pages of code.
Yeah, like they're proposing neighborhood commercial district, the language that they're using here, we don't have any of that language in our zoning ordinance.
Right. And again, this is a guide. So if the city votes to approve this with the languages it's in there, that doesn't mean the zoning changes to allow mixed use districts or commercial residential. That just says, we think this is where the city should go. And then if you change the zoning to add that, then it becomes the code.
I'm confused. So I thought this was the guiding document. And now you're saying it's not the guiding document, you change something else.
It's guiding, but it doesn't have force of law. Yes.
Where's the ordinance? You have to meet it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an ordinance.
The ordinance approves the comprehensive plan as the guide, but it's not a code that says this must be. It's not building code. It's trying to figure out how to state it in a way that doesn't diminish it, but makes sense.
Well, you'd have to have some compelling reason to go against a recommendation, whether
Yeah.
in accordance with the comprehensive plan. If somebody came in a residential district and wanted to put in a neighborhood commercial or whatever like that, that would not be in accordance. So that would not be in accordance with what may be shown
Yeah.
on a map. So you'd have to have some reason to review that by.
Yeah, I mean, it's stronger than just an idea, but it's weaker than a code. I think one way that maybe this might help, it's sort of like the difference between the preamble of the Constitution and the actual Constitution itself.
So the other part of it is that you guys on the commission and the other boards and commissions of Webster Groves have certain discretion on decisions that you make, on votes that you take. That discretion is backed up by the comp plan. So the idea is that when you guys make a decision that quite frankly could go either way, and you guys make a decision, the goal is to have it in line with the comp plan and therefore defensible.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I still like my preamble idea thing.
Could I
That was
ask
good too.
Liaison questions. One is while we're on the map, I know that previous council approved only the maps of a previous comprehensive plan and not the whole comprehensive plan. And those are the maps that currently get brought up when we have things.
Those are updated. I think those were maps that I think were updates. I think the commission has approved updates to the map.
Yeah, so we've got that map. So when we're saying like this map is approved within the comprehensive plan, but isn't necessarily the new map,
Well, are you
Mhm.
referring to, so there's two different types of maps. There's a zoning map, which is official, as your house is in A4, A3, A2, whatever. And, the setbacks change and the lot dimensions change. And then there's the comp plan, which is a comp plan map, which is saying, this is what we think development should be in the next 25 years.
It's a land use map.
Yeah.
There's a zoning map and a land use map.
yeah, it's
This is
you know
the
what I'm
land
talking about, right? What I'm referring to, Tony, I think is like, do you know, am I not?
So does it,
So there was a whole comprehensive plan process done years ago. The whole comp plan as it's was not passed by the council, but the maps were adopted.
That was an
Those
update, yeah.
maps.
Those-
so if that was a land use map,
Is
And
that,
if-
that was?
The land use map.
So the land use maps.
So if there's a land use map in here, and if you approve it with the comp plan, then that replaces the one you're referring to, but not the zoning map.
Okay, that's perfect. And then my other question was about parking. I know that when we talked with the Lakota group, it was that one of the ideas was we need to look and see, and this goes back to looking at Crossroads. Where are we on our requirements for parking spots for proposals that come up? Are we asking for too many spots, for too few? And I don't see anything in this that talks about
Zoning
that.
ordinance.
Well, so one piece that I did, and I talked a little bit about this evening was the suggestion about reduction for suggesting reductions for addition of bike racks. And again, this is the difference between the comp plan and the zoning code. This would make suggestions, and
Oh, I do see there. Okay.
if there's not as many suggestions about parking reduction, then I would absolutely say, submit that as, hey, this is what I would like to see. But the zoning code is,
Because you just searched for something that did not come up when I did Control F, so it may be in there and I just wasn't finding it.
So you're saying that unless we make a suggestion or there's something in the comp plan, when we review the zoning ordinance, you'll just use an industry standard, basically. But if you've already pointed out in the comprehensive plan that you want this level of scrutiny when it comes to bicycle parking or whatever like that, then they'll take that into account when you're writing the zoning ordinance.
I'm not saying I'll necessarily go with the industry standard because I don't know, it depends what the industry standard you're talking about. If you're talking about the AASHTO, the American Highway folks, their standard is way higher than what I prefer. And their standard comes from let's see if I remember this right. There was a suburban parking model that was done in like 1956 in one community, and it was a suburb of one of the major metros, and that has been carried down through every model since and adopted by community after community because they look at the other models and go, well, they're doing it, it must work, why reinvent the wheel? If you're talking about an industry standard like that,
Well, I'm saying what we already have,
Yeah.
basically what we already have.
Okay,
St.
I'm
Louis
sorry, I'm
County
making
Or
it-
whatever.
Yeah.
But what we already have. But if we put some language in the comprehensive plan saying we want to do this, then when we look to the code and we're updating the code, we can look to that suggestion in the comprehensive plan when we're doing reductions or whatever.
absolutely. And there is language in there about reduced parking. It may not be as strong as you would like. And that if so, then by all means, raise up a flag on that. I saw that there was nothing about suggestions of reduction for bike parking. And that's something that we did in Berkeley. We said that you get a X% discount in parking requirement for addition of bike racks.
Right. But we don't put those numbers in the comprehensive plan.
No, that's just a comparison.
Yeah, no, I wasn't looking for the exact numbers. It was more of like the idea that we should re-examine
I
them.
think that's right.
The idea is there, but if it's not as strong as you would like,
No, that's
then
fine.
please let us know and let the
Understood.
consultant know.
Thanks.
Just one piece of feedback, trying to read this now, is the contrast in the font color for the strategies and the implementation actions is, to me, very low.
I've
and
already,
difficult to
that's already
read.
been changed.
Okay,
Yeah, that,
that's.
it's not in this,
We got?
no, not in this version. I reviewed this a week ago, and that was one of the first things that I suggested. It was really, really, really hard to read some of those pastels.
And I think it's also
The-
depends on
wait.
what your settings.
I'm sorry, is that have those changes been made, or you're just saying the comment has been received? Because I want to make sure I'm looking at the latest, I thought we were reviewing the latest version of the plan.
It hasn't, it hasn't been incorporated
Okay,
into
the
the,
comment has been received, it hasn't been applied. Okay, thank you.
yeah,
Michael has his hand
Yeah.
raised. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Can we bring Michael in?
Yeah.
So he can speak.
Thank you. Could you scroll down to that land use map? You were on the zoning map for a while, but the land use map comes first. I thought it was figure 1.
Yeah, let me get that. Sorry.
And while he's doing that, would you all like a hard copy? I mean, it is 214 pages, but that's fine. As I mentioned in our email, I didn't, but if you guys want one, it might take a day or two to get all the copies printed, but we'll do it. So is that a,
I was just gonna tell you
Okay,
that I
great.
did find
Yeah,
the
the-
latest
go ahead.
version that
There you go,
fixes
right
the
there.
font,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm
You
good.
go. Yeah.
all right, so you'll have it before the end of the
Is that the
week.
map you want, Michael? I can't.
So that's the land use plan.
I'd like one if I could have one, please. That way,
So, I guess I would just want to make sure I understood. And Peter talked about a little bit, the zoning plan, if I understand correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, the zoning plan obtains its veracity or correctness based upon this land use plan. So this in essence comes first. You couldn't have a zoning plan that contradicted the land use plan. They'd have to be in order. Is that correct?
Yes.
So this plan here, is that as it currently is or as it's predicted to be at some future period or wanted to be at some future period?
I think this is the current land use. Yeah.
I will say that both of their proposals for the changes are very similar to what we currently.
Let's see what this, go up to the top and the bottom of the page because it should be in the, okay, figure 12. Keep scrolling down. Keep going. Stop. Okay,
This is the current one, the one. You
But
scroll
you-
down, that's the current one.
yeah, this is current.
The
But that's it.
future one is further, way further down.
Okay, the future one, okay, there's another one then down there.
It's further down.
Yep, there it is.
Here you go.
Okay.
There we go.
So yeah, so I guess I don't know, because like I said, there were some questions about there were other maps here and there, and I remember we saw the presentation not too long ago, and they had picked out 3 or 4 sites in particular and zoomed in on these. I guess I'd be curious, then at that scale, it was difficult for me. What might be the difference between that current one and the future one, if any, where those happen?
It'll discuss, it'll be discussed in the context, in the text.
Yeah.
So is there a way to overlay one over the other so we can see what the differences would be?
Right here and now tonight, no, but
Well, that was actually some of my comments also, like some of what they've identified as traditional neighborhood, mixed neighborhood. Some of these areas on here, I question those recommendations. Like the Summit area, I think is it to be the highest, that red that they're using. I think that should be more of a neighborhood, which is that pinky color that they had. I don't think that's there. And then along Crossroads, we just approved a bookstore that had neighbors coming out saying they didn't want a bookstore in it. And you have it as a red, which is the highest intense, commercial, which I don't, I don't know whether that's appropriate for that area. Those were two kind of areas that I thought those need to be rethought out. And, the Kirkham corridor, I don't think enough attention was paid to that corridor, or a lot of thought was sent to that, which I think is a gateway. And I think it should have gotten probably as much attention as the Watson corridor or the central, the Old Webster corridor. Those are just a couple of thoughts that I had were the way they had them, the traditional neighborhood, the mixed neighborhood, and that's what the map shows.
So, do you have the contact information for the consultant?
No.
Okay, then I will make sure that you have it. You can either send your comments to them directly or send them to me, and I will send them to them.
Okay, yeah, I can send them to you. And
Okay,
pass
then
those along, that'll be easier.
By all means, but ideally by Friday, so that we can get, and, just send whatever.
Comments, not the commission comments, so.
It's your part of
Yeah.
it, so, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question that just kind of keeps coming up in our recurring conversation. We keep referring to the zoning ordinance and the zoning code, and this is just my professional OCD. Those are two different things, code versus ordinance. Have we adopted that as an ordinance, or is that an actual code we've adopted?
The code is adopted by ordinance. So there's actually multiple, there's the official zoning code, which is approved as the whole code is ordinance. And then there are amendments, many amendments that have been approved by ordinance as well. So there is one zoning code that has been approved by ordinance because it has to be. And then there's a gazillion amendments, which if you look at our code, you'll see every section has an ordinance number and then amended so-and-so ordinance, but this date. And sometimes there's 6 or 10 or a gazillion of those. And sometimes there's none because it's only one ordinance that's never been.
So when we're talking about amending based on comprehensive plan as a next step with a consultant later further down the road, you're talking about looking at the entire ordinance that's been adopted, or are you looking at adopting a portion of that as a new code?
My thinking, and again, this is just one person, because ultimately the community is going to decide, is the whole kit and caboodle.
Okay.
Because, I'm looking right now at various changes, not whole scale changes, but things like, do we add industrial classification code numbers to the use categories in the list of permitted and conditional uses and do we add saying the line, these are permitted and other similar uses as compared by the classification code? That's not changing anything. That's not changing the thrust of the code. But what it does is it would give flexibility and guardrails on the code so that, I'll give you the example where this came up. We have a request to operate a cat kennel. Well, that's not listed by the way the code reads, because it's not listed, it's prohibited. But we allow dog kennels with conditions, of course. But so if that code change were made and we had, dog kennels with the 6-number SIC code or an AICS code, and cat grooming, cat boarding had a similar one, we could say, all right, well, it's not listed per se, but it's a similar use enough that it's not outside the thrust of what the code is allowing. So we're not like going rogue and letting some strange thing in that folks didn't want.
So it gives flexibility? Is that
Yeah,
what
yeah. That's one possible change I'm looking at. Little things that make the code easier to use, but are not policy changes. They're not like, oh, well, we're going to make everything mixed use now. And not that I'm suggesting, but just to throw a ridiculous extreme example, anything on that scale would come from a third comprehensive review of the zoning code after the comp plan is approved. And I'm not doing those things because of that.
Well, and Steve, you've been on a long time. We have done so many amendments to the zoning code, adding new definitions, things, I mean, this original code was 1956. There were uses, there were, there are just all sorts of languages that they didn't use in 1950 that we've had to constantly make amendments to. This is our opportunity to update
Absolutely.
our zoning code and to, originally, zoning, you had your districts, you had your residential, and what we're looking at in this comprehensive plan and what they're recommending. And I think what the community is looking for is flexibility to do some residential with commercial, whereas now it's residential and it's commercial, And so this is our opportunity to update the comprehensive plan and make the zoning code more in line with that so that we don't have to keep constantly making all these word changes to.
Well, and I'm gonna tell you that changes will come regardless. But you're absolutely right. And I've dealt with this in 7 or 8 different communities over my career, and the exact same conversation comes up, the exact same one. And and I say that to say that you're on the exact right path. It's like,
I guess my big question would probably be to Peters. How much exposure does that give the city for somebody who wants to do something we're not even thinking about? To say, well, you have flexibility to do that, why can't you?
well, I'm sorry, you're asking Peter?
No,
I can't really hear you. I don't know if your mic was on.
Sorry.
My question was the flexibility. How much liability or how much exposure does that give to the city if somebody comes with something that we're not even thinking about and they want to do it, but we really don't want that to happen?
So again, you've got all kinds of discretion. That's the nature of the commission and the nature of what what any of the either planning commission, board of adjustment, council. That's what you guys all carry, this power. The comprehensive plan only aids you in that discretion. So it's never written black and white because it can't possibly comprehend everything that's going to come up. The idea is that it should, generally speaking, give direction to you guys, and so as long as you guys are following that direction, then your discretion is going to be upheld. Where it comes up, other than at every meeting where there's a vote taken, the question, does it meet the comprehensive plan? Does it follow the comprehensive plan? Where it comes up, where I think what you're talking about, where there would be liability, would be if somebody appealed a decision that was made, whether that's from the Planning Commission or Board of Adjustment or council, and you'd have a judge who would review it and look at whether it does follow the spirit of the comp plan. But realistically, I would consider it almost always a shield for you guys and for the city.
Okay. Thank you.
Grace?
Well, I was just curious about, and you may not be able to answer this, but I'm reading goal 3. I think I'm just in the residential section, talking about preserving and enhancing distinctive character. So I think from, Mara, back in the day, we had talked about a rate of turnover for housing stock and what was like a healthy level for new versus old. And one of the strategies in here was penalizing tear down. So I'm just kind of wondering what the data driving that suggestion was, because I thought we were pretty far underneath actually a healthy level of turnover for maintaining a livable housing stock into the future.
I don't have the answer to that. I'll ask you to write that down and send it to me, and I'll send it to the consultants, because I don't have the answer to that question.
Kind of along those lines, I liked a couple of their strategies about the demolition tax, credits for maintaining existing housing, conservation districts. We've all talked about tear downs and the tearing down of the housing stock that, starter homes, whatever. All of those suggestions that they made were, I liked all of those suggestions.
Yeah.
Hadn't even really thought about a conservation district for, just, and for rehabs, for incentives for rehab. It also talked about design guidelines.
Mhm.
Our design guidelines, would those be, if we were to go that route, would those be approved with the zoning ordinance, or would that be a separate document?
I don't know. That's something that could be determined. I can give you an example of what I've worked with when Ferguson, Jennings, and St. Louis County and Delwood received a grant to do a joint zoning district for West Florissant. We did a set of design guidelines that was part of it, that was approved with the zoning code change. And there was a user's guide that was approved with it that was basically, the code was 75 pages. And so we reduced that down to 22 and really hammered with the visual graphics and clear text. It was something that people could read. It had a narrative, beginning, middle, and end. And you could do that and have that approved with the zoning. So long story short, it depends on how you and the community want to go with it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a question, and it seems like really late to ask this because we're 55 minutes in, but I just imagined that this meeting would have a different feel to it and that we'd be reviewing it. So I guess I just want to confirm, did you have like a presentation to go through the plan with us, or were you expecting a more Q&A back and forth?
Tonight, no, but there will be a presentation at the June meeting. This was merely a teaser. This is, okay, we're just starting to look at it. We gave you the link a couple weeks ago so that you'd have some time to wrap your hands around it, come up with some questions. There will be a formal presentation in June.
We make changes in June, or is that like done?
I'll ask.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
if the due date for feedback is Friday.
That seems kind of short.
I'm sorry.
I mean, a due date of Friday for feedback from what we're looking at today seems a little
I'm
short.
sorry?
If we're just looking at it, the commission's just looking at it today formally, I know it was set out with the minutes and everything ahead of time, but if the turnaround for feedback is Friday, it's a very long document. I feel like that might be a little bit of a short window. And if there's not a chance for additional feedback after the June presentation, I'm wondering if maybe we want a little bit more time.
I'm thinking there will be time for, in fact, I will confirm that, because the reason they want it on by the 9th is so that they can incorporate your comments and everybody, the ambassador's comments and staff's comments into the next revision, which will come back to you up by the 22nd. That's the plan, so that you have enough time to review it again before the presentation on June 2nd. So I'm assuming that there will be opportunity for more comment.
You'll always be able to update or change things before you vote.
When are we voting?
June 2nd.
June 2nd, yeah.
Oh, God.
So
I guess it would be helpful for me, and if I had a document in front of me so that I could go through it. I mean, I'm
You, I will make sure.
school. It's hard to read on, the scale of the maps are hard to read
Yeah.
online. And I don't, again, I don't know whether I can get all of that to you by Friday.
Okay,
Well, the
well,
other- the other
so,
thing-
so I'm sorry, let me back up. You'll have hard copies as early as tomorrow. Get what you can by the 9th, and if it doesn't, if you don't have it by then, send it just after, and
Jeff?
it may not make the,
Jeff, you wanted to talk?
oh, I'm sorry.
Well, that was just an authentic throat clearing, not to, to butt in. But I do have a comment in a second, but go on, Elliot. Sorry.
No, we're ready for you.
Well, yeah, Elliot, you mentioned we would have those tomorrow. Yeah, and I would like a hard copy. How are we going to get those?
Um,
In the old days, they used to drop them on our porch, but
we'll,
Yeah.
we'll get them.
They used to drop a.
I mean, maybe we just,
I can come and pick it up though.
But I also have a question is, so if we're doing this on June 2nd and we're going to ask the questions, and if they don't have the answers, how does this all going to work? Because it's got to go to the city council by the following, I mean, I'm confused at the timing.
The vote and
And-
the presentation should not be in the same meeting. The initial presentation and the vote should not be in the same meeting.
Should be more feedback allowed after the Jews. I think.
yeah, what is driving this schedule other
We
than
have to have this done.
kind of that was the plan? I mean, is there option to put this back a little bit? I know everybody wants to get through it, but
well, I mean, I can, I mean, yeah, I mean, I can talk to the consultant. Yeah, we ostensibly thought that it would go to the council on the 1st of July and then be voted on the 15th. But if you're looking to have it well, but let me back up a step. So, because I'm thinking scheduling now, if you look at it, like the presentation is in June, then your meeting in July is July 2nd. If I'm let me look at the calendar.
Well, as far
For our
as
next
that,
meeting, could we request just a timeline of the life cycle to approval of the comprehensive plan, just so we can understand the steps that it needs to go through in the acquisition process?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the consensus is reviewing, commenting and voting in the same night on a 200+ page document is a lot to ask, I guess. If you really want our comments.
Okay, and we do, we absolutely do. Yeah, so your first meeting is July 7th, so that can work if we push back the council presentation to, what's this, 15th?
To their second meeting in July.
Yeah. So I will talk to the consultant and we'll get the hard copies to you one way or another tomorrow regardless.
This could also be a heavy lift for the city. Is there a format in which you'd like to receive the comments? Just like,
A Google Docs.
Well,
I would just,
there's typically when you
Say two.
provide comments, there's typically like a matrix of some sort, like, do you want to know page number, like section number, just so it's easy for you to know what we're talking about? I want to give you the feedback in a way that you can process it.
I would put page number and then where they have the way they made some of the responses to my comments, action item number, pillar, goal, strategy. So after the page number, so hit the main topic heading of the page.
Yeah, I'll include all the details of where it's at, but if you want it in a certain way, in a certain order, I will give it to you that way. If there's not a format, then understood.
I think the only real two things that I request is one, that it you have the page number of each comment. And two, don't handwrite it. Because if your handwriting is anything like mine,
Okay. Is there any more discussion? We're good? We're good? Okay. All right.
I'm glad to hear. I was really happy with the thrust of the discussion and was hoping for some meaty feedback, and we got it.
All right, so our next regular meeting will be on June 2nd, 2025.
It's a big meeting. And those people will be here.
Okay. And we have a new commission member. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Christy Phelps.
Phelps?
I've been talking this whole time.
Well, now we know. So, all right, welcome,
Welcome.
Christy. Okay, do I have a motion?
Welcome.
Adjourn?
Yeah.
Oh, Christopher Michael.
Yeah.
Took over someone else's.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sounds good.
You, you don't have anything, Joel, for us? No,
Anything
okay.
coming up in the city that we should know about?
Yeah.
Any big news?
Okay.
What about the total access urgent care? Is that it's open? I don't know do you know anything about that?
I haven't heard any. This is the first I've heard about it.
Question when is that's loud.
Yeah, it's been like 2 or
For
3
2 or 3
years.
years.
Opening soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they have to sign up or something falling down.
Yeah,
That's the last thing.
okay.
Michael and Jeff, are you good? Any questions?
Nothing here. Good. Thanks for the explanations, Elliot. I think we did make some good progress, but more to go.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, thanks, guys.